Some people say nicotine is good. Some people say nicotine is terrible. I guess it's the way that you take it. I got some right here. I ain't gonna lie. But we gotta watch this video. Yeah, good for your neuroreceptors. We gotta watch this video. ZYN, the most evil company in the world. We gotta watch this.
Just be the addiction of the future. These small pouches of nicotine. ZYN might just be the addiction of the future. These small pouches of nicotine, flavorings and filler are sweeping across the world, with sales increasing by nearly 80% in the past year alone. It's a craze that's been fueled by social media, with everyone from the biggest celebrities to random people promoting them online. The advantages seem endless to smokers. They're far less harmful than tobacco, easily concealed, and they don't make any smoke or vapor. With big tobacco monopolizing the market and ramping up production, it doesn't look like there's any way to stop this new addiction taking root. So let's explore how ZYN is taking over the world by storm, and what the sinister consequences of this could be. As when you start peeling back the truth, you realize how dangerous this might be. The rise of ZYN in Sweden would create the template for a global campaign of addiction. But first, we need to understand where they came from in the first place. Despite the fact that they seemingly appeared out of nowhere, ZYN and other nicotine pouches aren't exactly a new thing. It has its roots in a tobacco product called snus, which has been consumed around the world for hundreds of years. Its spiritual home though is in Sweden, where centuries
I've actually tried one of those. My uncle gave me one of those.
Smoking tobacco is the most popular method of consumption. Back in the day, people would take a small pinch of this specially made powdered tobacco and keep it under their lips as it slowly released nicotine. Beginning in the 1970s, manufacturers like Swedish Match took control of the market by offering the tobacco portioned into a small sachet, each with a controlled dose of the drug. A few decades later, when the technology to extract pure nicotine from tobacco was perfected, the entire industry was thrown on its head. By 2006, the first vapes had entered the US, and it wasn't long before.
Who remembers the elf bars, chat?
A few years later, a new calm walked.
Every teenager was hitting on that.
Hit the device or smelling the sickly sweet clouds drifting by.
Passing
with their
it under the
apparent
stalls.
health benefits compared to tobacco, it wouldn't have been a big leap to expect vaping to replace tobacco smoking entirely. But the arrival of ZYN has led people to ask whether vapes were just another stepping stone on the path to perfecting the addiction. In Sweden, it's been a different story. Through pervasive anti-smoking campaigns, as well as a cultural appetite for other methods, the country almost eliminated tobacco and other nicotine products from their country. Strong laws against marketing the products kept big tobacco from fighting back. People hoped that as the other ways to consume it slowly died out, that Sweden would become the first country to actually kill the nicotine habit for good. That was until a Swedish Match found their ideal product. As the largest Swedish tobacco company, a nicotine-free Sweden would almost certainly mean an end to their business. So when so-called white snus came along, it was a godsend for them. By taking that pure nicotine and replacing the tobacco with it, they could make a seemingly harmless alternative that could take the market by storm. These new products launched in 2016, and Swedish Match were quick to take advantage. While laws prohibited marketing tobacco products and vapes, white snus seemed to be free of these restrictions. Now, marketing has always been an easy game for tobacco companies. Other companies whose products aren't chemically addictive have to constantly prove their worth to the consumer. If someone else offers a better alternative or the customer simply doesn't want it anymore, then you're out of luck. But that's not true for nicotine though. Just a few tastes or a week or two of habit forming and they've got you for life. Once addiction sets in, the product sells itself, and the nature of addiction means nicotine customers are unusually loyal to their chosen brand.
That's facts.
This is why when tobacco companies are allowed to advertise, they almost exclusively target new smokers. Each marketing campaign is that much more effective because each person it convinces is likely to become a lifelong customer whether they like it or not. Swedish Match and their competitors went straight to work advertising their new product to the young and impressionable. Companies would give the product out for free to lure in new users, putting out internet ads that would send people free pouches with just a few
free
clicks.
samples
or
insane.
they do it in person, staking out places where young people would gather. That can mean at conventions, festivals, or even more disturbingly, outside playgrounds.
Thought it looked good, and I wanted to try. I just kept going, going. And it's hard to stop. I'm kind of stuck.
And the results were quick. With the marketing beginning in
ZYN is
2017,
nicotine.
it only took 3 years for the use of snus to overtake smoking in young people. Decades of progress in stopping the use of nicotine were reversed almost overnight, with tons of young people taking up this new addiction. Swedish Match, who had the most money to throw around, were very well positioned to corner the market, buying out competitors and securing basically a monopoly. You can see why nicotine pouches might be appealing to young people. Smoking and vaping are far less discreet. The smell can give it away easily, you can't do it in front of people without them noticing, and everyone has the image of smoking with cancer. Whereas products like ZYN are almost invisible on the other hand, meaning kids can indulge in their new habits all day without having to sneak off to the bathrooms every half hour. Combined with the fact that they were easy to get and easy to use compared to the alternatives, it made their popularity inevitable. and people would have no idea about how truly bad this was like they do about smoking cigarettes. And that's why Big Tobacco was quick to notice this massive opportunity to afflict even more people with an addiction to their product. They've never cared what form the nicotine they sell comes in, as long as it's addictive. They've only ever cared about creating new, lifelong customers. So when white snus spread across Sweden like a wildfire, they noticed. At first, Swedish Match made the Operation International. The product had been imported and sold in small numbers a year earlier, but in 2017 they began a nationwide rollout in the US. It wasn't cheap to even make the stuff in the US. They needed to upgrade and pretty much rebuild one of their factories in the country, a project that would cost over $100 million. But once you start adding up the numbers, you can see why they did this. Each can of ZYN, a container which holds 15 of the pouches, costs about $4, but heavy users could easily go through a can every 2 days, all year round. And this really adds up. In 2017 alone, the year they were introduced,
I know some people like that.
Swedish Match sold over 13 million cans of ZYN, and the other brands outside of Scandinavia. A year later, as more people were introduced to it and got addicted, this nearly doubled to 25 million. The scale of growth was truly insane, but it got even crazier. By September of 2019, they were selling 20 million pouches, or around 1.3 million cans every single month in the US alone. Once the factory finally opened that same year, they started selling even more, and by 2022, sales had gone up by 700%. ZYN continued to dominate the market for these products, never losing the over 50% market share lead they had taken earlier over the competition, which is why the brand had exploded in growth and seemingly came out of nowhere. Now, while Swedish Match might be over 100 years old, these were the kind of growth numbers that only the most successful tech startups see. So just like any other startup, once they had the product and the market controlled, they sold it all off. And who better to step in than the masters of addiction themselves, the largest tobacco company in the world, Philip Morris. In late 2022, they bought out Swedish Match in their entirety for an eye-watering $16 billion. But the only thing they were really interested in was ZYN. And this deal might end up being one of the most lucrative deals ever made. If ZYN and other nicotine pouches keep growing as fast as they are, they'll replace vaping and eventually cigarettes. You see, Philip Morris could see that cigarettes and vaping were becoming outdated. Nobody in Gen Z really wanted to do this stuff anymore. There were so many regulations, you couldn't advertise properly, all the reporting on the health consequences, the popcorn lungs, the lung cancer, they needed something to pivot fast with. Which is why Philip Morris didn't just buy 51% of the company, it was a complete buyout of every single share. They wanted it all, and you can easily see why. With that dominant market share, Philip Morris doesn't really need to do anything. With how heavily controlled traditional advertising is for nicotine and tobacco products, there isn't any danger of someone else taking the throne.
Dude, that is such a fact though. I'm gonna back it up a little bit, sorry for pausing, but that's actually such a fact. I don't know about y'all, but I've never tried anything that about like something like this. I've never tried anything from an ad that they make. I've always tried it from like someone else, somebody I see on YouTube's addicted and they're like, yo, this is the new crazy thing. Like, it's never been like an ad. Like, they keep showing these ads of like these people that are like taking it. Like, where's the ad? There's an ad that they were like, these nicotine ads, like none of those I feel like ever work. So it doesn't even matter if they really do their own advertising. Once some people are addicted, it's just gonna be like word of mouth spreading like wildfire.
Advertising is for nicotine and tobacco products, there isn't any danger of someone else taking the throne. Addiction makes people take the easiest route possible to get that fix. So if they know the brand, then they'll buy it. It means this deal could give Philip Morris an almost complete monopoly over nicotine products, stretching far into the future. Of course, that'll only be true if ZYN and other nicotine pouches really catch on. But what's making them so much more popular than vaping or smoking? Ever since they finally couldn't cover up the dangers of tobacco, the health effects have been the Achilles heel of the tobacco industry. They don't care about the actual suffering, of course, it's the optics and the appearance of selling an addictive, deadly product that hurt them. But ZYN, so far at least, seems like the least harmful alternative. Old-fashioned snus and other products with actual tobacco in them cause cancer. They're terrible for your health. But as far as we know, ZYN doesn't do this. The fact that unlike with vaping, you don't actually inhale anything makes it at least marginally healthier. And while it might not kill you, it can ruin your day if you use it incorrectly. People who've let them sit on their tongue have reported being knocked out for the entire day, or feeling incredibly sick from the nicotine overdose. But to be clear, the negative health effects are the same as any other nicotine product. We don't know the long—
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna back it up. Sorry for pausing again. Bro, I was at work one time. My boy is like, yo, pop 2 at a time, brand new. I'm like, yo, I've never done that. Should I really try it? I try it on my life. On my life. I was sitting there. I was like, yo, this is okay. Like, I was used to popping them, right? I'm used to popping them, so I'm like, this is okay, whatever. I popped 2 6s. 6 is like the most they sell, right? I popped 2 6s at a time. On my life, for the next 2 hours, I've never had less energy in my whole entire life. I've never had less energy in my whole entire life. It killed my energy. I was walking around like I wanted to kill people. People were like, bro, are you good? I was like, yeah, I'm good. Bro, like, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I've never heard of anything like that, but I was so gassed. Like, I had no energy.
Nicotine overdose. But to be clear, the negative health effects are the same as any other nicotine product. We don't know the long-term effects, of course, but it seems like it would at least affect the gums, for example. Leaking chemicals through a specific place in your mouth all day, every day surely can't be healthy. And it's also a highly addictive substance that can mess with your blood pressure and is a known carcinogenic. But there's no clear reason that it will be any more harmful than some of the government-approved alternatives like nicotine gum. And the benefits are clear. Even in the worst possible case, it's far less harmful than smoking is. In a perfect world, ZYN could save a ton of lives by helping people quit smoking. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. It isn't ZYN itself that's the problem. Some people are always going to use nicotine in some way. And that's not to say we should ban it. We shouldn't control what adults want to do with their lives. And so far, ZYN seems like one of the safest options. But it's the way that it's being pushed onto younger people and the damage this is doing to society in the future that's the real problem. Thanks to ZYN, tons of people are getting more and more addicted to nicotine. And as time has gone on, the sales of the highest concentration pouches have risen much faster than the others. It shows people are needing more and more to satisfy their cravings. Moving on to the stronger stuff as this happens. It isn't just ex-smokers using this as a safer alternative and to eventually cut down. It's becoming its own addiction. This is the danger. Not smokers using them as a replacement, but people who've never had any kind of nicotine getting addicted to them. One of the ways this happens is through their cultural buzz. If your friends are all trying them and there's peer pressure to try them, lots of kids are going to cave in and try it. The pressure doesn't just come from in person, a lot of it is online.
The truth is, ZYN is a powerful work enhancer, and also, if you know what I mean.
Really?
Yeah.
Talking erection, huh?
Yep. There's no election for ZYN.
Like pretty much anything, ZYN has its own community of influencers
I didn't know
on
that.
TikTok whose whole online
I'm keeping the
personalities
pack
revolve
now.
around them. It's a mixed bag of your bog standard embarrassing TikTok content. There's plenty of videos of people just popping them or in general talking about them.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's like a twister. What?
But a lot of the time the content is talking about upping the dosage and almost competing over how much you can take, with a bunch of people talking about taking multiples at a time. Then there's the so-called ZYNfluencer showing off their massive collection of MD ZYN containers. There isn't any indication that these are sponsored posts, but Philip Morris, the tobacco giant who now owns ZYN, has done it before. They came under fire as recently as 5 years ago for paying young
Hold on, back it up. Bro, he said there's no way to tell that these are paid influencers, but I feel like it wouldn't even matter because at the end of the day, it's actually cool. It's cool to send pictures like this. It's cool to make videos like this. Like literally the homie Icy again sends me pictures of like the workbench that he works at, and there is literally 50 cans, and he's like, yo, these are all empty. I'm like, hold on, what? But let's continue, it's almost done.
containers. There isn't any indication that these are sponsored posts, but Philip Morris, the tobacco giant who now owns ZYN, has done it before. They came under fire as recently as 5 years ago for paying young influencers to promote their addictive products. The idea isn't to outright sell them, but to show them alongside influencers. Along with the online buzz has come claims about how ZYNs can help you focus, or help to make you sharp for work and studying. And there is some truth to this. Nicotine has been shown to increase the levels of some neurotransmitters like dopamine, which has a very beneficial effect on brain function. Anyone who's tried nicotine can attest to the buzz you get the first few times as well. It's almost similar to caffeine, which is also an incredibly addictive drug. But one part of why
At least
nicotine is
20
so
tubs on that
addictive is
counter.
that the buzz quickly fades, with people barely feeling anything after just a few weeks of regular use. It very quickly becomes a matter of just taking it to feel normal, rather than getting any sort of effect from it. The only way you can do that is by increasing the dose.
This is insane. The milk, blue ribbon, and then all the ZYN cans is so crazy.
Kids taking these things to get a buzz quickly have to take stronger pouches, often lots of them at one time, just to get that buzz again. ZYN and other pouches put nicotine straight into the bloodstream, so people who use them can quickly build up a massive tolerance to nicotine without ever even knowing it. If they ever try to stop, it makes the withdrawals that much worse, and if they switch to vaping or cigarettes, they'll need far more of them to get the same effect. This is just another hidden danger of ZYN and other nicotine pouches. We've already seen through studies that if people start vaping without any prior nicotine use, they're 3 times more likely to take up smoking than other non-smokers. And we can expect that ZYN has pretty similar effects because the active chemicals are completely identical. All of the worrying about just how harmful they are misses the bigger picture though. We're currently
was, like,
watching as big
sus.
tobacco, which was losing customers every day for decades, decades, it's once again getting its claws into the next generation, and it's really working. Big Tobacco is creating a whole new generation of addicts, making nicotine popular once again, risking the
Jinxie
health,
clip.
increasing the chances of cancer and other fatal illnesses by getting Generation Z hooked on the stuff. It's just going to add on to the long list of
Bro had the
addictions that
bowl
Gen
of
Z and Gen
Zins.
Alpha have been exposed to at a very young age. At least with smoking, it's pretty inconvenient to do it all of the time. Only the heavier smokers would be puffing away all day. But because of how ZYN works, it means kids can be walking around with invisible nicotine IVs stuck in their arm all day, massively raising their risks of heart attacks and cancer, just slowly poisoning you day by day, and making it seem cool with nice branding and a whole bunch of influencers promoting it. Just like the
Yeah.
phones, it's created a world where people can constantly be feeding
my
their
God.
addictions. We've already seen what this is doing to young people's attention spans and their general mental well-being. Kids already can't focus in class
Bro,
anymore.
I had the
Teachers
megaton.
constantly talk about how each new year is worse than the last. And adding ZYN into the mix makes each new generation the heaviest addicts history has ever seen, all whilst destroying their mental and physical health, with one of the most infamous toxic substances becoming mainstream once again. The tragedy is that once you get addicted to nicotine, it pretty much lasts forever. The chemical need actually fades in a few weeks after you stop, but the mental addiction never goes away. You always know it's there, just waiting for you, but you have to ignore it. It does get easier with time, but it never really leaves. However
Damn.
clean or convenient they can package nicotine, it's still one of the most addictive,
That's actually
carcinogenic,
terrible. I didn't know
toxic
that.
chemicals known to man. And whilst we may not know the exact effects of ZYNs, all we can see is that it's addicting people to nicotine. And the societal harm of having a whole generation of addicts isn't something that we can measure. Making nicotine mainstream once again is a terrible sign of where we're headed. And with the explosive growth of ZYN and the snail's pace of actual regulation, this is going to be a major problem that we'll have to deal with soon.
Yo, nah, that was a W video. I can't even hold you. That was like absolutely insane. So chat, like, do I throw it away or like do we keep it? Like, what's the deal though? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the deal? No, I can't lie. I need to find a better alternative because nicotine's good. They didn't really say anything about why ZYN is. He said, "Why do you have a ZYN?" They didn't really say anything about like why ZYN specifically is like terrible versus. Okay, yeah, we could watch a different video on it, but like, I just don't know. That's like just absolutely insane, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That's just crazy work, bro. That's crazy work.